morning, everyone. I am very nervous, to be honest. So, my name is Makia Kamal. I am so happy to be here today to share um, my story with you. It's not my story, really, but it's what Jesus done in my life. So, when Jesus found me, I was 16 years old. I was very young and just a teenager girl. I came from a Muslim family, so all my families they are still Muslims. It's only me who have Jesus, but uh, I believe someday they will know him too. I really believe that. So, but today I will just talk about hope, how Jesus Christ was hope in my life and for all of us. So we all remember uh, Peter's story, like in Matthew 14:22, when Jesus told I am very sorry for my English, but I will try to say it in a real word. So um, it's just disciples. Disciples, thank you. So Jesus told his disciples to go in the boat and to go to the other side. And he stayed behind to pray. So we all remember the story and then what happened. Jesus stayed behind and told them to go to the other side. So they start going to the other side, and in the middle of that thing, what happened is there was a lot of waves and there was a lot of winds, so they were struggling. They can't come back and they can't come forward too. They stuck in the middle. So Jesus went to them. He was walking on the water. So after they saw him, they was scared of him. And then he said, "Don't be scared, it's me." And then Peter said, "I really love him. Sometimes I feel my life is like him because I take decisions really fast. I do whatever comes in my mind just really fast." So Peter is that kind of person. If some question came to his mind, he will just ask. If he want to do something, he will just do it. So Peter said, "Oh Lord, that's you? Tell me to come to you." So, and Jesus said, "Come." And Peter started to walk on the water to Jesus. And then in the middle, I think he realized what's going on. So he just heard Jesus come and he started going, but there is still a lot of waves. There was still a lot of winds. So I think he started to realize around him, "Oh, what I'm doing." In the middle of the night, it's really dark. I'm walking on the water, and he started to sink, right? And then he said, "Oh, God, save me," and he moved his hand. So the Bible said immediately Jesus hold his hand and pull him out. So hope for me is that hand. When Jesus cut Peter's hand and threw him from that water, so hope in Christ for me was that hand. That hand was always there to hold me, always there to put me through everything, always there to be kind to me. After I will tell you the story, I don't want to ruin it, but after I found Jesus, I get separate from my family. So there was a time I don't have no one like to do this for me. This is really like we thought this is a small thing in our lives, or because we have it a lot, but sometimes I just need this and there was nobody there. But that hand, that hope, that Jesus Christ was always there when I need this. Even I really feel when he do this to me. So before I believe in Jesus, like before maybe a month or maybe 2 months, I got a fight with my family, my youngest sister, and my father was by my sister's side, so I was like, why? And I ran out from my family's house. So that was the first time for me to leave my family house, and I ran. I took 200 Ethiopian money from my father's pocket, and I went to Addis Ababa. I don't know if you know it. It's the biggest country in Ethiopia. So I remember I went on Addis around 12. So I was walking the whole day on the street. I have no one to know is in that country. I have nowhere to go. So I was just, let's go. Let's just leave this family and go somewhere they can't find me. So I went there. I was walking the whole day. I remember it was raining, and then the rain was stopped. And I was just, I don't know where to go. I don't know who to call. And I can't go back home because I already made a lot of trouble, so I'm going to be in big trouble. So I was hopeless. I have nowhere to go. I have nothing to do. The time is running. It's getting dark now. So that was the first time I think of ending up my life. So I was hopeless. I was 16 years old in big city. I don't know no one, and so I was just, I don't have anything to do. So my family, they don't want me, they don't love me, and I have nobody. So why should I live? What's the purpose for me to live? So that's what I think. I asked myself the question, and I answered for myself, and I took the decision. I remember there was a cars going from the other side to the left, from this side to the right. There was, I think, what we call it, sorry. It's something like this, in the middle of those two lines. So I was stopping in the middle. There's car from this side going this side, and there's car from behind me going the other side. So I have two options. I can jump this way or I can jump this way. So there was no big problem. So I stand there and, okay, that's it. And I close my eyes. I count 1, 2, 3, and I was like, hop. And I felt there was a hand pulling me back. And I turned right, there's nobody, and I turned the other side, there's nobody. I thought somebody saw me and just they want to save me. So I was like, I walk around, there's nobody. Everything is normal. People were just walking around, living their life. The car is walking from the both sides. But I don't know at that time what was that. I felt it really. There was a hand pull me back. So I was like, what's happening to me? Because of I was working for the whole day, maybe I don't know. So am I dreaming or something? So I stayed there for a minute, and then I start walking. I just, okay, I'm not gonna die today. So today is not my day to die maybe. So I start walking, and I find a very nice lady, and I ask her if she knows someone wants a housekeeper. So she said, she started to crying. She was a Christian lady. She said, oh, you are very young. What are you doing here? If someone find you, they will do this to you. They will that do to you. And she started crying. So and then she took me to her friend's house. She said, stay here for a while. We will find you a job. So the lady I stay with her too, she's a Christian. They start telling me about Jesus. But before that, I just heard once about Jesus. There was a conference around our house. They were saying Jesus is Lord. I was fighting back, no, he's no Lord. So that's my first time hearing about him. So after that, they found me a job with a family. They were Christian too. So they gave me a Bible to read, and after a while they start to take me to the church, and I start feeling in a peace in my heart. So one day after the church, the ceremony, everything is done, I told them, okay, I want to believe in this God. I think he's the one saved me last time from that accident to happen. So I just want to know him more. And let's see, like, if he's real, I will feel him in my heart. If it's not real, okay, when I go back to my family, I will go back to Muslim and whatever is going to happen. So I believed in Christ. But after that, what I realized is there was a fight in the spiritual world. If I end my life that day, I will never gonna find Jesus. I will never be saved forever. So that's gonna be my last day. So there's a devil, he's trying to end up my life so I can't find Jesus. For him to be alive in darkness or to be dead. But for God, he wants to save me, to be his own, and one day, like today, to talk about him, to say what he did to my life. So that was a big fight. So after a while, I keep working with the family. I get to know Jesus, not that much, it was a little, but I need to go back to my family because I was a student, I have to finish my school. When I went back to my family, everything was different. I wasn't the same person they know. I found a light in my heart, I find a hope in my heart. There is Jesus Christ in my heart. Through we love our family and everything, but the Bible said, we who have Jesus, we are the light. And who don't know Jesus, they are dark. And the dark and the light will never go together. Like, we can't mix them. They are my family. I know they love me. I love them too. But there was a big difference. They started to treat me differently, which I don't blame them. My sisters, they burn my Bible, and I get baptized, and then there was a picture for me when I get baptized. They burned that picture for me. It wasn't felt right. So I was like, I don't know Jesus much, but there is some truth was in my heart. I can't change that. I can't go back now. I can, but there is something holding me. There is a full peace in my heart. So there was a big fight with my family. Like we always fight, but this one was different. They were treating me differently. I felt I don't belong there anymore. And then I know I ran again. This time I ran for my life. And I know what I am doing. Because if I stay there, I will do something. I am not part of my family. I feel there is a big difference between us. And I can't go back there, and I can't stay with my family and worship that God in that light in my heart. So this time I know I have to go. So I ran away. I ran so far this time. So I left my family and I went to Sudan, like Ethiopia to Sudan. That is a big decision to take. My family, they don't know. I didn't tell anyone. But I know for sure if I stay there, I can't lose this hope and I can't live for it or with it. So that's why I ran. So when I went to Sudan, it's 2 weeks. It wasn't legal the way we took. It was 2 weeks. We walk through the night and we take break through the day because if the police saw us, they're gonna catch us. So we were around 20 or 25 people. We started working together. It was a very dangerous way. Some of them, they are dead. Some of them, they never be founded. But I am here. I am here today. So that hand I was talking about, that was the only hope that when I was 16 years old, he caught me. He was always there to hold me. He was always there to lead me. He was always there even through the dark time, through the hard time. When I was alone, I don't have my mother beside me or my father or brothers and sisters. And for a while, I don't have even a Christian brother or sister to tell them, I need someone to pray for me, or what should I do in this situation? I have no one to tell me this is not the right thing or this is the right thing to do. So, but he was there. He was always there. Anytime I need him, he was there. Even sometimes I just need a hug, and I just go to the room or the washroom or anywhere by myself, and I told him, I know you are in my heart. I feel you. You are here, but I can't see you, and I want to know you more. And right now, I am alone. I just need a hug. Or I just need this, So he was always there. I really feel that touch. I do really feel. I stay on the washroom or the room. I stay on the floor. I told him, I left my home. I left my family because you are inside me. So I was like, I know you are here, but I need to feel you. So he was always there. So that is hope. That was hope for me. That was Jesus Christ. That was the light. That was the hand holding me. Remember earlier when we talked about Peter and Jesus? When Jesus held Peter out of the water, the situation didn't change immediately. There was a still wave. There was still winds. There was still on the water. For me, but Jesus was holding Peter's hand. So for me, the situation might not change it at that time. Everything was there, but there was hand holding me and never left me and never gonna leave me. I believe that. So today, I wanna speak to any person feeling loneless or trying to give up, or a lot of things going in your life. I'm not going to promise you those situations going to go away immediately, but I promise you there is a hand holding you. There is a hand going to pull you from inside all that situation. So David said there was one step between me and death. So if I took this step, that was death. So today, even if we feel we are close to the death, that one step, Jesus is there. We have hope in Christ. We have a hope in our life. So I just want to encourage you, hold tight to that hand and don't let it go. And pray from your heart, anytime, anywhere, whatever you're going through, pray to Jesus Christ. Just tell him, don't leave my hand. Keep holding me. Even if I don't feel it, even if I can't see you right now working or doing anything, but hold that hand. That is the hope for us. That is the hope for me, and that is hope in Christ. And thank you so much, everyone. I will introduce Carmen. So I'm going to just do one thing at the end. That hand hold us, and that hand let's hold each other's hands. So please, I appreciate if everyone hold your hands together, so that's hand they will never gonna let go.
That's a beautiful image. Thank you so much, Makia. Another round of applause. Hope is absolutely incredible. It is the driving force behind our actions and our decisions. Wikipedia defines hope as an optimistic state of mind that is based on an expectation of a positive outcome. But the webpage, it goes on to describe that such hope or positive thinking bears fruit when it's based in a realistic sense of optimism, not on naive false hope. So what about when there is no realistic chance for what you hope for? What about when your marriage didn't work out? Or when your children are already grown and you weren't the parent that you hoped you would be? Or what if you had hoped to be married or have kids and neither of those things ever came? What about when death has taken a spouse or a child far too early in life? How can you still have hope? This is where Wikipedia hope stops, and this is where the power of Christian hope is seen. Christian hope is different from any other hope in this world. Christians can have hope even when there is no reasonable chance for our circumstances to change, just as Makia said very clearly. This is because our hope isn't placed in the situation, rather it is placed in the unchanging nature of God and believing that He is trustworthy. This kind of hope that sustained Makia from country to country on her own, when we tap into it, it transforms everything about our lives and our experience on earth. And I'm going to go through 4 ways that Christian hope is different. So number one, and maybe the most important one emotionally, psychologically, the one that Makia described, is that He is with us. Christians can have hope because even if all of our dreams for this life fail us, which they ultimately do in some way, all of us face major disappointments in life at some point or another, God promises that He will never leave us. In Hebrews 13, the author echoes the words first given in Deuteronomy and Psalms, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can mere humans do to me? Just like a screaming baby is totally calmed by the arms of their parent, just like Makia felt those arms wrapped around her, and that's all she needed to sustain her in those moments. Knowing that God is with us, holding us through the storms in our lives, can make all the difference between total failure and disaster, and the difference being living life with perfect peace and hope, regardless of the circumstances changing at all. So God is with us. That's the first one. The second one is He promises to bring good from suffering. The next reason why Christians can have hope, even if our circumstances don't change, is because He promises that He will work everything out for our ultimate good. In Romans 8, verse 28, it says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. We also know that from Scripture that God uses difficulties in our lives to develop perseverance, deepen our faith, and strengthen our character to build a stronger foundation for our hope. In Romans 5, verse 3-5, it says, we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts. The difficulties in our lives can serve as great teachers, maybe the best. There is nothing that matures us and grows us more than suffering does. God uses pain to shatter our illusions of self-sufficiency and to draw us closer to him than ever. In his book, The Problem of Pain, C.S. Lewis writes that we can ignore pleasure, but pain insists on being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, and he shouts to us in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. I also once heard it said that pain and suffering was the only teacher Jesus ever needed. The third one, so God is with us. The second one is he promises to bring good from the suffering. The third one is God promises justice and an end to suffering in the life to come. This third reason that Christians can have hope even when circumstances are dim is because God promises that one day he will bring about perfect justice and total peace, an end to suffering and tears. Sometimes the pain and suffering in this life is so great that the good that may come from it is clearly not worth the pain that it is. You don't tell a mom who just lost their child, oh, this is to build your character. This doesn't make any sense. But we can have hope because we know that one day God will bring about perfect justice and he will wipe away every tear. We will have new perfect bodies. There will be no more death. The horrific events that occurred in our lifetime will no longer haunt and damage us. The Bible has shared with us a vision of the end of the world and the beginning of the one to come. In Revelations 21, it says, "And I heard a voice from the throne saying, 'Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, no crying, nor pain. The former things have passed away.' And the one who was seated on the throne says, 'Behold, I am making all things new. It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end.'" And sometimes when life feels so overwhelming, so dim, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, sometimes just remembering that there will be this day is the hope that we need. And what does this practically look like in our lives? Well, I was chatting with Mary and Rob Tavel this week, and Mary shared the perfect example by accident with me. Where are you? Here. I was wondering if you could just share it yourself. Just quickly. Just the sentence. So when you told me that your late husband, George, was dying, when he received his diagnosis, what was his response in the car and from then on?
Oh. Yeah, I was doing the driving, and I looked over. He had just got the terminal diagnosis, and I asked him if he could tell me what his thoughts were. Yeah. And I expected negative thoughts, I guess. But instead, he said, "I'm thinking how fortunate I am." Not what I expected at all. I said, "Okay, I don't understand that. Can you explain it?" And he said, "Well, you've been there for me all of our married life, and I know you will be until the end. And then after you're done, when I die, Jesus will take over." So he said, "I really am fortunate." And as the illness progressed, he turned his eyes from earth toward heaven, for sure. He had that sure hope, and he at one point even asked me, "Are you jealous yet that I get to go and you have to stay here and grow old?"
Thank you so much. I think you said it a lot better than I could have, so thank you. Sorry for putting you on the spot. But that just amazed me, because that is so different. You're never going to hear that in the secular world without Jesus, without knowing who he is and where you're going and his plan that he have made. You cannot have that kind of hope in suffering. George received a terminal diagnosis, and he said he was thankful. That is not logical nor reasonable. You will not find that anywhere else. It doesn't happen. And knowing how the story ends doesn't just fuel us to get to the end of life. It supercharges us, because it supercharges us to be able to fight for justice despite feeling like it may never come, because one day we know that it will come. Because God entered the world through Jesus, lived a perfect life, suffered, died, resurrected, we uniquely have certain victory and absolute assurance of the next life to come. When we live out what is promised in the kingdom to come, we bring it now in this life too. And this is where our trust in God's character is absolutely essential for hope. The pain and evil that we see in this world is one of the most common reasons why Christians walk away from their faith. They wonder, as I also wondered for a time in my life when I was standing beside a woman not even 30 years old yet, who was bearing all 7 of her children. I wondered, how could a good God allow this to happen? Yes, he gave us free will to make our choices, but how could he have let us have free will? Look at what we do. Why couldn't he have limited it in some way? He only gives us good things to take them away in the end, doesn't he? Or does he exist at all? Some of the things that happen in this world are far beyond our understanding, and I don't have the depth of answer that this particular question deserves today. But if you're struggling to trust in God's character because of pain, I invite you to do 2 things. The first one is reach out to somebody who's been through pain. The Tavels have gone through loss. Makia has gone through loss. There's so many people here today that have lived a lot of life and can share with you from their perspective and their personal experience. So I invite you to reach out to somebody and talk to them about it. Don't keep it to yourself. The second thing I invite you to do is do a little research on your own. You can read the book, The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis, for a much better discussion on this topic. And all that I will say here today about it is that the scale of God's timeline is just not graspable for the 80-something years that we have here on earth. God is all-knowing, all-loving, and frankly too complicated for our minds to understand. He's tying together the loose ends of history over the course of millennia to bring about the perfect balance of justice and mercy. And we just don't live long enough to begin to grasp how that should be handled with our extremely limited knowledge and lifespan. I am personally glad here today that none of you are the judge of the universe. I am so thankful that none of you has control over my actions and my destiny. Even if you think you're a really good person and that you're really smart, I think you would do a horrible job being the judge of the universe. And I'm very thankful that the Lord, despite all the things that I've seen, is still the one in control. So he is with us. He brings good. He tells us how it ends. And he is a miracle worker. Number 4 is, for the last point, I just want to say that Christians can uniquely hope for circumstances to change, even when all hope is lost, because our God does perform miracles. In the New Testament, it is absolutely filled with stories of Jesus healing the blind, the possessed, even healing the dead in the case of John chapter 11, when Jesus raised Lazarus back to the dead after 4 days. It may not be scientifically reasonable to expect a healing, nor is it logical. For example, to expect that you can change after 1,000 failed attempts to change. But I've seen it happen. God can transform. He can do miracles. It is possible. But the important thing here is that we don't place our hope in God doing what we think he should do. Our hope is still remaining in God's character himself, and that's it. So a quick story about someone, to me, who is an amazing example of real solid hope in the midst of darkness and loss is my mom. And in 2017, my mom won her first battle against cancer and was declared cancer-free. She rang the bell. We all celebrated, and we were so thankful that this awful, scary journey was done. However, in 2018, just a year later, my mom started to notice strange sensations in her head. Her balance was off, her vision was different, and she had frequent headaches. The test confirmed that there was another tumor growing in size, and it needed to be eliminated immediately. Our hearts sank with this news. I just need to pause here and say that my mom is probably the nicest person I've ever met, and I know her pretty well. She's so kind. She's an avid inviter, totally self-sacrificing. She always puts others first. I thought this was normal until I realized I just don't meet a lot of people like her. And everyone who knows her is aware of this. She's a very amazing she's a very amazing person. So how could God allow my mom to go through cancer a second time? This time even more dangerous. The surgery was quickly scheduled for December 21st, 2018, almost exactly 6 years ago. It was a long time. The surgery was a long one. It was 12 hours long, and the surgeons were very thorough. As the biopsy that was done, they take a little piece, send it off to the lab in the middle of the surgery to make sure they know what they're dealing with. That biopsy confirmed that it was the same malignant cancer found previously in her breast tissue. So when my mom came out of surgery, the surgeon went to check on her, and it was totally dark in the room, so she asked the surgeon, "Could you please turn on the light so I can see you as we're talking?" And that moment totally changed the rest of life for my mom and dad, because when my mom asked that question, the lights were on and the room was totally lit. So the doctors rushed her back into surgery to see what had happened and if there could be something to fix it. Nothing. Her optic nerve had not had access to oxygenated blood and the tissue died, something that had never happened in this surgeon's entire career of 600 or so of these surgeries. While my mom was still under anesthesia, the surgeon explained to my dad what had happened. And when my mom finally woke up, my dad was there to tell her that she was now blind forever. My mom said her first thought was, "I don't want to live like this." And as my mom slept that first night in the hospital, she felt so desperate, needing, just like Makia said she needed, just needing to feel Jesus' presence beside her. She literally moved over in her bed, made space for Jesus to sit beside her in the bed, and she just played this song over and over and over on her phone all night with the lyrics. "One day at a time, sweet Jesus, that's all I'm asking of you. Just give me the strength to do today what I have to do. Yesterday is gone, sweet Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. Lord, help me today, show me the way one day at a time." What did it all mean, and what was life going to be like now? She didn't think too much about the questions, but she was also still too shocked to go to sleep. So all night, she listened to the song and anchored herself in the hope that Jesus was with her and would sustain her one day at a time. Life as she knew it ended at age 58, and a new life was beginning. In the months that followed, grief hit hard. All the stages of grief came, went, came back again, and still come. Her vision didn't come back despite all the prayers from possibly thousands of people for a miracle healing. And still today, she has only 2% of her vision in the corner of one eye, which is basically when you look through a really thin straw, that's what you can see. The grief is still really strong because the memories of everything my mom used to be able to do are still so fresh. And it's been 6 years since that day, but rather than become bitter and helpless, which would be totally valid in my opinion, there is a strong hope inside my mom that enables her to walk. And even though this loss would be enough to sink anyone into a dark depression forever, I would say that my mom is a shining example of what it can look like when Christians live with loss but still have hope. Isaiah 40 verse 31 says that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And since that day, when my mom lost her vision, I have seen God develop my already amazing mom into an even wiser, even kinder, even more forgiving person, and a way better cook, ironically. There's no Wikipedia hope here. My mom trusts in the character of God over her hope that she could see again. And her surrender and hope has transformed her experience of this season of her life. She would be a totally different person walking through that without Jesus. Totally different. Grief and loss may never go away, but neither will the hope. Hope that Jesus will never abandon her to her pain alone. He will never leave her. Hope that God will use this pain for good and growth. The amazing hope in the life to come when she will see again and her new perfect body, that she will see again in her new and perfect body. And the fourth one, even a little impossible hope that perhaps one day Jesus will heal my mom's blindness in this life, because why not? Christmas time is here, and it can be both an amazing and devastating time for people. This is because it's a season where we remember our losses. And we're also reminded of the greatest miracle of all, that Jesus loved us, or God loved us so much that he sent his son, Jesus, at the perfect time to live with us and die for us. And so today, as Makia said, it's just so important to be able to tangibly sense God's presence with us, and we do that through each other. And one of the values of our church is to connect. So we're going to do something a little bit different today, and I know we're going short on time, so we're going to make it pretty quick. But if you're comfortable, I invite you to get into groups of 2 to 4. When I say go, So what you'll do is you'll share a hope that you have with the people around you. Like, I hope that my son and my daughter-in-law will be able to make it through their difficulties. Or I hope that, I can learn how to help my child. Or I hope, whatever it is, it can be big or small. And just have one person pray for that hope. So one person shares, one person prays, and then the next person shares. And we'll end in a couple minutes. I'll just come up here and close in prayer. And maybe we can have a little bit of background music too. Not everyone can hear everybody sharing. But you can go ahead, just turn around or pick people if you want. And if you're not comfortable, you can just pray silently on your own as well.